On this episode of The Drive and Kick, Joe and Kevin discuss whether or not it's time to panic about the 76ers season and also indulge in some Washington Wizards optimism. Later on, they discuss players who returned from long absences and what stood out in an exciting first week of NBA action. Finally, they finish off with some of your mailbag questions. You're listening to The Drive and Kick. What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Drive and Kick. Joe and I are recording this on a beautiful Saturday in October where the NBA is officially back and off and running. How are you doing today, Joe?
As a person, I'm good. As a fan, I don't know how much more I could take. I said to my wife Nora after the Sixers lost to the Bucks that I can't do this anymore. I just can't. But as a person, I'm good. Thanks, Kev. It's good to be here.
Hey, great to have you, Joe. And I'm riding a little high this week. Not only are my Wiz 2-0, but your Sixers are 0-2, and I can't really have asked for anything better than that.
Yeah, the Wizards are on pace to win 82 games, and the Sixers are on pace to lose 82 games. So this is
Two down,
exactly.
80 to go.
I feel terrible about most things, but still have some optimism. So if you want to get into it, we could talk some Sixers to start if you want.
Yeah, let's talk some Sixers. Give me some of your thoughts from the first two games.
The first two games, it's been a couple good things and a lot of bad things. The one good thing we see is Harden looks pretty good. Um, First step looks good. He's beating guys off the dribble for the first time since like 2018.
Definitely,
I haven't
definitely.
seen him do that in a long time.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I was looking up some isolation stats for the NBA. Just speaking of Harden, he's putting up 1.67 points per possession in isolation, which to put into perspective of how ridiculous that is, that's basically Ja Morant on a fast break in the open court. I mean, he's been Houston Harden all over again. It's crazy.
He has, but the problem with that is the Sixers offense looks like Houston Harden offense. They are not they don't run an offense. Which is
Mm,
strange because it's not like this is Harden's first time playing with the team. Harden's been here, Maxi's been here. They've played together.
mhm,
They literally don't run an offense. It's Harden ISO ball for about 20 seconds, and then maybe he'll hit a step back three, or occasionally they'll let Joel bang in the post a little bit, but they're not running anything. And
mm,
they'll run a little bit of pick and roll with Embiid and Harden, and it's fine, but it's a lot of ISO ball. Offense looks terrible. Joel looks bad. Um, it's good that Harden's hitting shots, but it's been everything you are afraid of happening has happened. I mean, there are a couple of silver linings beyond that. I mean, I think PJ Tucker's looked good for the
mm.
most part. He's not really hitting shots yet, but he fought for more offensive rebounds in two games than any Sixers have in 2 years, which is nice. Embiid just looks sluggish. He looks slow, but I don't know. I think with Embiid is he always kind of has these stretches where he's half asleep and then he wakes up. So I think he'll be
Sure.
fine.
Yeah, and well, I guess my one of my questions is has Harden, in your opinion, this season so far shown any willingness to play off ball? Because I know that has never been Harden's thing. He's the typical, if the ball isn't in his hands, he's standing at the top of the key, he's not moving around, he's not cutting. But I love having, a maxi pick and roll, having the ball in Maxi's hands, a pretty good amount. And it's tough to do that when Harden refuses to do much. So I guess or do much without the ball in his hands. So I guess do you have any thoughts on that as to whether or not, Harden can has shown any willingness to play more within an offensive scheme?
Not really. Um, which is weird because last season, I don't know if it was like, new guy on the street, nice guy Harden kind of buying into the system because he did play a little bit off ball last season,
Mm,
especially when he first got here and Maxi was running the show for the whole year. But this year it's like a gift and a curse that he's been here for the whole off season because now he's like, oh man, it's 2017. I got Daniel House and PJ Tucker here. Let me just dribble the ball out for 20 seconds and
sure.
So no, he hasn't really done much off ball. I think eventually they'll get there. I think that now, especially look, maybe losing 2 games will force them have to try new things. It's
Hmm.
next 2 games are very winnable. They have Spurs and Pacers, and if they lose those, it's
Oh
big
boy.
trouble. But yeah, they're just not running sets when the time comes when the step back doesn't fall with Harden, it's going to be
Hmm.
really, really problematic. Another thing that's beyond the offense, it's just the defense has been slow. They give up a ton of fast break points, probably because they miss a lot of shots. Um, they're not a very switchable defense, so teams with a bunch of 6'6" guys who are athletic and can shoot, like the Celtics, just torch them.
It's just, I mean, I don't know what you're really supposed to do as the Sixers guarding someone like the Celtics, where, you got to have Maxey and Harden on some combination of Brogdon or Tatum or Brown when it comes to switches. And when that happens, you can say what you want about Maxey's effort. He's just not a very good defender right now.
No,
And
he's not.
and that just, it creates all sorts of problems. And that was one of the things that I think um we've talked about previously, is how is Embiid going to be able to hold down this defense when he has two terrible on ball point of attack defenders. And it just, it hasn't been the best, but it hasn't been, the worst thing in the world, at least in the second game.
Look, I mean, the Bucks also missed a ton of shots that game
Mhm.
too. I think I forget how many open threes they looked, but I think they're going to figure it out. I think it's just the worst case scenario to start the year. You start the year against 2 really good teams. This would be a lot easier if they started the year with Spurs and Pacers. But you
Mhm.
see when you play teams like Boston and Milwaukee, just how important it is to have guys who could switch, guys who could defend, guys
Sure.
who can, you know, do something with the ball in their hands. But and how important it is to actually run an offensive set as opposed to just ISO ball, because it gets so stale, especially I know, and it's almost like it's your turn, my turn.
Hmm.
Embiid, and then when Embiid's not hitting shots, he tends to. I love him, but he's an all-time sulker.
The moper.
He is, and when shots aren't falling, the defensive effort will start lacking, and
Hmm.
that's when Embiid really starts to resort to the 2018 Embiid, just heads out of it, throws the ball right to Marcus Smart on dribbling the ball to the floor. Like it's a problem.
So, speaking of the struggles that the Wizards, I mean, I'm sorry, that the Sixers have had with offensive sets and play calling, how are you feeling about Doc Rivers right now?
For years, going back to even Brett Brown, when Twitter hated Brett Brown, I never believed that the Sixers lost games because of coaching. I think that a coach has to be historically bad for a team to lose games because of a coach. So I've always considered myself to be a bit of a Doc centrist. Like, whatever. He's not a X's and O's genius, but players seem to like him. He's fine. But I don't know. I'm making a turn. I think I'm radicalizing. Um, I think that I mean, obviously Embiid looks bad, but when I look at the Sixers, how poor they've looked, and most of it's on Doc. I'm like, you can't run an offense where it's just 2018 Harden ISO ball, Daniel House and PJ
Mm.
Tucker. Like, you have three incredibly dynamic players, and if you can't figure out how to run an offensive scheme to get easy buckets with them, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, I think
Mhm.
I'm radicalizing. My Doc centrism is over. Like I can't handle them anymore.
And his rotations, just from my perspective, have been a little bit wonky. I'm not someone that thinks Matisse Thybulle he's finally going to put it together this year, and he worked hard, and he's going to have a jump shot and can dribble the ball now. But against the Celtics, you know, they could have used someone that at least could slow down Tatum or Brown a little bit or make things tough. And I know you're a little bit on the Matisse's slightly overrated defensively train, but I think they needed something to throw at those big wings.
You got to bring the left-handed specialist out of the bullpen sometimes. You got to bring in the submarine guy.
You got to change things up, and I don't quite understand what is happening with Doc.
No,
Oh.
Doc has once again waged war on our friend B-Ball Paul. He got a few minutes in the Milwaukee game, but then he was like, actually, no, what? I don't want to play you. Um, so look, Doc will play guys who were good in 2015. So he's all about house. I mean, Tucker obviously deserves to play, but he hates play. He likes to play the guys he trusts. He's stubborn.
Mm.
Um, he trusts Montrez for some reason. Um,
I'm still bullish on Montrez. He had 2 bad games, but I think he's going to put it together. I can't imagine that big of a drop off.
no, I think Montrez will be. Look, you can't when you have a team with Joel Embiid, James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, you can't look at, oh, we lost because of Montrezl Harrell. Like, come on, like the bench is going to be up and down no matter what. It's like the stars have to play and the coach has to coach. So look, Doc's what I don't know what they did this offseason. They decided to stop doing, like, even last year they were running sets. They were running a lot more pick and rolls. Maxey had the ball in his hands more. So I think they just wanted to look bad just to torture us a little bit. But I
Mhm.
mean, look, I think they're capable of making adjustments. I'm not ready to throw in the towel, but it's just been when you think about everything that could go wrong with the Sixers, it's happened in the first 2 games, and it makes you think about the playoffs because it's
Mhm.
like, these are the kind of games you're gonna have to win in the spring, and the games they've never won.
Yeah, and my thoughts are just I think it's okay to be concerned about the Sixers right now. They have not looked good, but I don't think there's any reason to panic currently. It's been 2 games. You've played potentially, 2 of the 4 or 5 best teams in the league in those 2 games. And despite the score of the Celtics game, both games were relatively close with 2 terrible Embiid performances. And there's just no way Embiid continues that streak of bad games through a big chunk of the season. I mean, that would just be unprecedented for him. So I think he figures it out again soon. And when that happens, they'll be right back on track. They will start to tie some wins together. So,
I agree. I think they'll be fine. It's just
mhm.
after an off season where I fully believed and I was like, this is it, man. It's frustrating to see them go back to their worst habits. And it's
Yeah.
frustrating. The biggest frustrating thing to me beyond Doc not coaching or running anything is the Embiid looking like it's 2018, just careless turnovers, stuff that he's just
Mhm.
better than. It's just like I don't care if a guy is missing shots. Shots fall eventually, but it's just like the stupid turnovers are frustrating. Just the moping. It's not what you want to see, but look, whatever. It's 2 games. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. They'll probably win the next 3, and I'll
Mm.
forget about it. So, but
Well,
let's talk about an undefeated team.
I was going to say enough talking about the worst team in the
Yeah,
East. Let's talk
yeah.
about the best team in the East. Your Washington Wizards were 2-0. We're feeling good. I would like to just say before, I jump into a little more of the nitty-gritty. I have my feelings on this team have not changed. I have never once thought this team was going to be bad. My issue with this team is we're going to be mediocre, despite, this being probably the deepest team of the 21st century for the Wizards. The league is so talented right now. I still think we're going to be, 38, 40 wins, and we'll end up as the ninth seed. That being said, we did look very good in some very big stretches these last 2 games. And there's just a few things that I want to point out. So, first off, I know it's a small sample size, but currently this is the lowest usage rate Beal has had since his sophomore season with the Wizards. I mean, he's really playing in the flow of the offense. There's a lot of, pin down screens to handoffs, double screens to handoffs. We're kicking the ball around. No one seems to really be holding it. And it's feeling good. It's working. We've been able to build up these, 10, 15, 17-point leads on the Pacers and the Bulls. The issue then, and I don't quite understand this line of thinking. At the end of the game, we get away from what's working, sharing the ball, cutting, passing, and we start doing this Bradley Beal isolation, pick and roll left, pick and roll right, and just kind of let him do his thing. And that's always when these teams have managed to get back in the game. And so I'm interested to see moving forward kind of what we do with that, if that's something we're gonna keep using to try to close out games, because my biggest critique right now of the Wizards is we're just letting these pretty sizable leads slip away. And it's very frustrating to watch.
I feel like that's such a thing in the NBA where it's like you need a bucket now. Let's do the least efficient possible offensive decision of all
I
time.
don't
Like
get it.
the Sixers have been doing that for years when they instead of like coming up with something like some kind of scheme out of the timeout, it'll just be like, let's just try to get it into Embiid, let him dribble 10 times and try to get fouled or shoot some like poor percentage fade away. It's just
Mhm.
I think it's like a stubbornness thing with certain star players too when they need a bucket. I think that goes into it. But
Yeah.
NBA teams and especially NBA teams with stars will always resort to just give the ball to your best player when you need it. And it's not always the best. It's not it's not always the best idea, man. What do you think is the main thing holding them back still? Is it defensive?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think it's defensive. And I was going to bring this up. Um, at times we have looked a little rough defensively, specifically the end of the Pacers game. I think really what it is we don't understand how to hold a lead. When we have a lead and a few minutes left in the game, it's like we panic. We're like, we're standing there going, can the clock please just run down, please? And we don't do anything. Maybe the most encouraging thing I've seen from this team so far, and it is your favorite player, Kristaps Porzingis, on the defensive end. He has been a defensive monster. Guards are scared to attack him. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in the Bulls game last night they penetrated on whoever was guarding them, went into the lane, jumped, and it kicked the ball out because Porzingis was in the area and was affecting their shots and was scaring them. We're funneling guards into the paint like the Jazz did with Rudy Gobert. And it's working to a large degree because Porzingis is so good at contesting shots in the paint.
You think if this team is still healthy near the trade deadline, over 500, they actually spend some money and try to pick up some pieces, or they kind of will just
Well,
be the
I
same
don't
old
think,
Wizards?
it's the Wizards, so I can't say anything with 100% certainty, but I would love them just to stay where they are. We can't pick up any free agents because we're hard capped. I think in all likelihood we'll probably stay where we are. Maybe make some small moves on the fringes trade wise, but we just don't have a lot of wiggle room. We're giving Kristaps, Beal, Kuzma, and Barton 4 players. That's $100 million in contract money right there, which is just crazy.
Yeah, I always forget how much Will Barton gets paid.
Makes like 17 mil.
Yeah.
And I like Will Barton. Like he's good. Um, but that's been a little bit of a problem. And then this is actually interesting. So we've won the rebounding battle in both of our games so far. We won by 1 rebound last night against the Bulls. How many rebounds do you think our starting center Porzingis and our backup center Gafford got in total
Combined?
combined?
15.
They combined for 5 rebounds. 5. And we still won the rebounding battle. And a lot of that is because of Denny Avdia going hard to the hole and really going and getting it. But it's been such a weird thing to watch because our bigs can't rebound and we've still been rebounding better than our opponents. So I don't know. I like this team so far. I think we're gonna give some teams trouble. I don't think we're a threat to come anywhere near the second round of the playoffs, but at least this could be a fun year watching them. So, we'll see.
Another year, man. Another year, Wizard Tubes.
So on that note, I think we might have a sponsor this week.
We do. We have our first sponsor. Let me pull it up here. This podcast is brought to you by Goodzo. Are you a youth camp or a petting zoo in the greater Philadelphia area looking to add a furry buddy to the gang? Or a horse breeder looking for a cost-effective mating partner for your ladies on the range? Well, let me tell you a bit about Zoe. Goodzo is an aging show horse that is unfortunately being replaced next year. That doesn't mean Zoe doesn't cut it anymore. If you're a part of the horse circuit, you may recognize him from this year's Devon Horse Show. He still has some good years left in him. If you're interested in acquiring or leasing Goodzo for horseback riding lessons or a structured ride at a petting zoo, stop horsing around and drop us an email. We'll show you a good time. Nay, a great time. Nay, 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 nay. Thank you, good so.
Wow. Thank you, Goodzo. We really appreciate it.
Oh, God. I think that before we move on, we can quick see, since we both, I don't want to talk about the Sixers anymore. But what do you feel about your finals pick? You taking it back, or you still going to hang strong?
I'm still hanging strong. I think both teams look rusty, but as I said before, the fact that Embiid had these terrible games and the Sixers were still in it, I think that actually is a positive, a silver lining, if you will. And I'm staying strong. I'm not going to back out now.
Yeah, I'm not a coward. I'm gonna pick the Sixers again, and I'm still gonna I still think we'll be fine, but Doc, please stop. Just run plays. You have do something. ISO balls doesn't work. So I'm upset, but I'm not changing my pick.
So on to the greater NBA. I think it's important
Thank
for us to
God.
talk about, who looked good, who's looked bad, maybe some of the returning faces to the league. So what are your thoughts on some of the players from this past week, Joe?
There's a couple. I think for me, looking at individual players is interesting to look at the guys who just came off sabbatical. Um, we have Ben Simmons, John Wall, Kawhi, and Zion coming back from each over a year. I mean, John Wall, I can't tell you last time John Wall's playing basketball.
I love that Wall's back, by the way.
He looked good, man. He looked good. You know, Zion looks awesome. Pelicans look awesome. Zion is just I've never seen such an active body on the basketball floor.
His body and athleticism still doesn't make sense. I know we were talking about how it's skinny Zion. He's on the court just so much bigger and stronger and more muscular than anyone else. It breaks my brain.
No, he's awesome. I feel like he's one of the fastest guys running the floor in the league, even though he's gigantic. He's just a tough cover. Like, I mean, Simmons like fouled out guarding him. Like, and say what you will about Simmons, like he's one thing he is good at is defending. I mean, he might
Yeah.
be rusty himself, but no, Zion looks awesome. I thought Kawhi, it's hard to tell, right? I mean, he came off the bench.
He was definitely a little bit rusty, but
He's like going half speed.
yeah. Luckily he was playing the Lakers, so it was very much a casual experience for him.
Yeah, it was pretty like the Shanghai Sharks. I think he's gonna be fine. I mean, when he does, he's still putting guys on his hip, getting the rim, the mid-range shot still looks the same. It's hard. I mean, he's going 50% out there, and he still can kind of get whatever he wants. So I think Kawhi's gonna be very good. He'll probably just load manage himself until April, is my guess.
Mhm.
You have anything else on Kawhi? I think it's hard to get much from him.
Yeah, we just haven't seen much of him play yet. I would be interested to see how he looks, 6 weeks from now. But just watching that Clippers team, they're just very deep. They're very deep.
They hit shots. They got a ton of guys who can dribble and
Mhm.
shoot. Reggie Jackson's awesome.
Yeah.
And John Wall now, man. First time
Yeah.
I feel like John Wall hasn't played since I was in high school. Like,
Hasn't been quite that long. He was playing when we graduated college, but he has sat out pretty much 2 straight years before this one. And he looked good. He was attacking the hoop. He still had that burst of speed that we'd love to see out of him. I think he scored 15.
yeah, he had 15 and he was
Which
pretty
is,
efficient too.
yeah, that's nothing to scoff at. I don't know. I could not be more happy for John Wall. Even though we didn't reach the Eastern Conference Finals, which is the dream for Wizards fans, with John Wall, he's still, my favorite Wizard of all time, and maybe the best player we've had since the 70s. So
You think peak Wall's better than Beal?
yes, yes. And I love
Yeah.
I love Beal. I think Beal, not last year, but the year before, was unbelievable. I mean, probably the best shooting guard we've had since Gilbert Arenas. Just incredible. But what Wall did, not only offensively but defensively in 2017, he was like a 23 and 11 assist guy while playing all defensive level defense. So for me, he's been the best Wizard of my lifetime. Um, Followed by probably Arenas and then that 2-3 year stretch of Arenas, and then Bradley Beal.
Yeah, man. The thing with Wall is he's that impressed me. I thought he'd kind of just be resorting to mid-range shots, settling
Hmm.
for jumpers, but he's getting the hoop. He's putting guys on his hip, and he's got that. We'll see if the burst is there in February, but
Hmm.
for now he has it.
Yeah,
And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our good friend,
we
our
have to
good,
talk
good,
about him.
good friend Ben Simmons. I don't have as much fun ripping on Simmons when the Sixers are 0-2, but as a basketball fan watching him, he looks bad. Like
Hmm.
he doesn't do anything that he used to be good at. And I think a lot of it is he's just afraid to get fouled. Look, he's always going to be a pretty decent passer, but his limitations that have hindered him in the past are significantly worse now because he's so hesitant. He won't go to the hoop. I mean, he's shooting right now in 2 games. He took 3 shots and 5 shots. Like his first year as a rookie, he took 12 shots a game. Like, could you
Hmm.
imagine him taking 12 shots a game this year? There's no chance. I mean, I think a lot of it is just not wanting to get fouled. Um, so when he's not going to the rim, when he's not trying to actually draw defenders, he's worse because he can't do anything. I mean, his defense, it was a tough cover for him in the first game, but he can't really defend big guys. He can't play small ball five. Part of the reason he can't play small ball five is he can't really do anything in the post as an offensive player
Hmm.
either. Um, he's one of the worst post players I've ever seen. So I don't know what the Nets are going to do with him. I think that they're going to be, I think he's really going to limit them because I don't know what he brings to their offense that like you can't get from literally any other point guard. Like I don't know. He looks bad. Wasn't worth the wait for Nets fans.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that is safe to say.
how many shots per game do you think he averages this season?
By the end of the season, I think he creeps up to 8. I think he gets 8 shots a game.
Like isn't that crazy, man? Like the person is your starting point guard shooting 8 shots a game. Like, would you rather have Ben Simmons or Rajon Rondo on your team in
Currently,
2022
I I think I'm still gonna go Ben Simmons, but
with
I
the
get your point.
contracts in hand? Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know what he's going to give them. It's basically the Atlanta Hawks Sixers series offense from him. He dribbles up the floor. He'll hand it off to Kyrie or KD, which he used to hand it off to Tobias, which is a little bit of an upgrade. And then he'll go stand in the dunker spot and lurk around a little bit.
Mhm.
But he doesn't do anything. And defensively, he's not really getting away with what he used to. I think he's going to be prone to fouling out of games. I think he just looks bad, man. I don't want to kill Ben too much, but
That's a lie. You want to kill Ben.
I do. But I want to do it when the Sixers are like 10-2, so I feel better about it then.
Fair. And then I just want to bring up Tyrese Halliburton, and I couldn't be a bigger Tyrese Halliburton guy. I was praying that the Wizards were going to draft him, and we ended up with Denny Avdia, and I like Denny. But if you're the Wizards or the Suns, you have to just look at that and say, "Wow, that is an all-time miss." Where we think our teams overcomplicated it because he's the perfect second guard, I would say, because he can play off ball. He's an insane passer. He has a weird shot, but he hits it.
He
Um,
does have a
I,
weird job.
I don't know if you watched uh too much of the Wizards Pacers game, but he had this move, and John Wall used to do it to do it. He would fake past it and spin the ball back to himself. It's a Chris Paul move too. So he does that. He has the defender leaning, and then he comes into the paint and dunks all over the Wizards. Total poster. I mean, he's so talented, and it's going to haunt our franchise that we weren't able to get him and pair him with Beal.
Halliburton's a stud. I uh I hate the Kings for trading him to the East. I hate
Hmm.
the Kings for trading him in general. I mean, I've always been a bit of a Sabonis hater, so I hated that trade as soon as it happened. But Halliburton's just a pretty generational talent in my mind, and he's going to be a killer, man. What do you have over under 0.5 games for Halliburton in Indy after the All-Star break? Actually, no, let's say after the trade deadline.
I hope they keep playing him because I have him in fantasy, and I really really would hate if he just sat on my bench for the rest of the year.
No, I'm saying they would trade him.
Oh, I don't think they trade Halliburton.
No, you don't think they try to blow it
I think
up?
they keep him. He's young. He's going to be the cornerstone of their team. I'm concerned that they bench him and go full tank to get Wembanyama or Scoot. But I would be absolutely shocked if Naptown flipped Halliburton.
You know you see a lot of late February, early March lower back soreness for Halliburton.
Definitely a touch of the plantar fasciitis.
He's awesome. I could see him scoring 35 against the Sixers on which I will be in attendance on Monday. So,
Oh, that'll be a great time.
what do you want to do next? What do we got?
Oh, do you want to talk about your Utah Jazz at all?
I would love to talk about the Utah Jazz. Um, Let me tell you, man, I don't know what is happening in Utah. I mean, this team doesn't know they're supposed to be tanking. Like I was talking to you before the pod, and you were saying it's an experiment as to what will happen if you have a bunch of six-man of the year candidates on your team. But they score a ton of points. They have one of my all-time favorite chuckers in Jordan Clarkson. They they have my guy, Colin Sexton, who is first team all dog in him. They just don't know they're supposed to be bad. And I think they're gonna be bad. But I'm really curious what happens to all these players, all these like really just interesting pieces that could swing
Mhm.
the NBA with trades. Like, I mean, Conley still has pop to him. You know me, I love Clarkson. I think Sexton's a weird guy to have there. Marketing could play. It's a weird team. Also, it's hilarious that they beat Minnesota. It was love to see them beat Gobert. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Beating Gobert and Jokic in back-to-back games.
Yeah, like they haven't. It's not like they're playing like Oklahoma City here. Like they're say what you will about Gobert and Towns, but Minnesota's a good team, and
Mhm.
obviously Jokic is the MVP, and Nuggets are healthy and good. So just what a weird team. Like I expected them to be terrible, and it's almost like they almost have the vibes of just like it's so easy to they play so loose because they know they're just like an island of misfit toys that's left over after two huge trades, and
They
they're
are
good, man. They're gonna be weird to watch.
they're a team full of streaky shooters, and in the first two games, they've been just on. Kelly Olynyk hit 5 threes yesterday. And like it's been crazy to see, and I'm just very curious as to where some of these guys end up. I think the Lakers would sell their soul to have Jordan Clarkson on their team right now.
That's my main fascination with Utah. Like, I don't want people to take this from me saying that Utah Jazz are going to be a playoff team or they're going to be better than they were. Like, they're not a good team, but they just got a lot of really interesting pieces that I think that come the trade deadline, Sixers, cross fingers. You know, some of these guys could be huge. I mean, Mike Conley, I mean, you plug him on any contending team and he'll be awesome. So
Hmm.
it'll be interesting to see what happens in Utah. Just a weird franchise that's doing weird things, and they don't want to win, so they're going to try to blow it up.
Yeah, they have to blow it up at some point. But I
Do
am
that,
happy we were able to talk
Ainge.
about him. Danny Ainge, of course. So with that, should we hop into our mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it. Mailbag.
So for all of our listeners out there, if you want to submit any questions or comments to our mailbag, you can shoot us an email at thedriveandkick@gmail.com. And that is THEDRIVEANDKICK@gmail.com. You can find our email on our Instagram page as well at Drive and Kick Pod. Uh, but so let's see. First question. This one's from Daniel Cobrin out in Indiana. He says, "Fellas, what are the odds the Pacers finish in the bottom three of the league and maximize their chances of winning the Wembenyama sweepstakes? Love the pod. Thanks, Danny. Great question. What are your thoughts, Joe?"
I think it's weird because at the moment, they have too many good players to be a bottom three team. Just with Halliburton, Turner when he isn't tripping over himself, when he's healthy, he's a good player. I'm a big fan. I think Duarte is actually solid. I think it's a bad team, but they're good enough to probably win like 35, 30 games. So I think that I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they're going to hang around. They're just going to be annoying and average, and they're maybe going to try to blow it up. It'll be too late. I say they'll probably finish around like the 10 or 11 seed. I don't think they're a bottom three team in the East. So
I think they will end up a bottom three team in the East. I just think because of how deep the East is, they don't have a ton of competition. I agree with you, and as it stands, they probably won't be a bottom three team, but I think they're going to blow it up within the next 6 weeks and tank, in a truly impressive manner.
they have a lot of good flash sale candidates. I mean, I feel like Buddy Hield's in the trade machine for every team has Buddy
Yeah.
Hield in the trade machine. So they got pieces that I'm sure like the Lakers will overspend for or something.
Mm-hmm.
Good
So,
question, Danny. Great to hear from you, man.
yeah, thanks, Danny. This question comes from Benjamin Cannell up in Canada. We have an international audience. Ben asks, did the Dubs get worse or better from last year? Thanks for that question, Ben.
I think they're a little worse. You never know what you're going to get from Thompson. I think Curry's going to be fine for a while, but um, the Dubs are weird, man. I didn't think that they were. I was shocked that they beat the Celtics last year. I'm a big DiVincenzo fan. I feel like he's never missed a shot against the Sixers. He's one of those guys, but overall, they're not that deep of a team. I mean, Moody's a nice player. I think Wiseman stinks. I think Kuminga kind of stinks. Iguodala, he's still on the team? He's like
Yeah, he's still on the
80.
team, but he's
Um,
playing like the Haslam role.
yeah, so I don't think I think that last year was like lightning in a bottle for them. I'd have a hard time even in a weaker West, unless Curry's just hitting everything. I don't know. I don't know if they have enough this year. I don't think they're that much worse, but I didn't think they were, you know, I was shocked they won last year, basically.
I think they're going to be slightly better, but that is contingent on some of their young guys taking that next step. And then it's also contingent on Draymond Green having a contract year. So I guess we'll see.
All right, our next mailbag is from Nora, who asks a non-basketball related question. Who is the cutest Sixer? You can only pick one. Cutest Sixer, that's easy. I think there's a difference between cute and handsome. I say Tobias is the most handsome, Tyrese Maxey the cutest.
Craig out in North Carolina asks, is the most improved player award ruined after Ja won it last year? Thanks, guys. Just a big fan of your podcast. Love the work. Well, thank you, Craig. We appreciate you listening.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. I don't think it's ruined. I think you just kind of, I think the most improved player award is weird because I think it happens. It's always, to me, it's a delayed award. It seems like the guys who win it should have won it the year before. I think that like this year, I was looking at the favorites, and it's Edwards and Maxey, and it's like Edwards and Maxey made the leap last year. Like I don't
Mhm.
understand why they're favorites this year. So I think I just view the award as like it's like you showed you made the step and then you sustained it and you built a little bit on it next year. It's not. I don't think the most improved truly wins every year. It's just like an award they give to young guys who make the leap. Basically, I don't know.
Yeah, let me preface my thoughts by saying that I don't think Josh should have won last year. I think Jordan Poole should have pretty handily won. He basically went from playing in the G League to being, a key contributor, 20 point per game scorer on the NBA title team. So it should have been Jordan Poole. But like it or not, Ja did make a massive leap last season. Sure, he was good the season before, but he went from a 19, 4, and 7 on 45, 30, and 73 splits to 27, 6, and 7 on 49, 76, or 49, 34, and 76 splits. That's a big leap. And maybe it's against the spirit of the award to give it to a guy you know is going to be good and show that he was already talented. But at the same time, you always hear NBA talking heads and analysts say the toughest leap in the NBA isn't from bad to good, it's from good or very good to great. And last year, Ja went from very good to, a top 10 player in the league. And so I think that type of leap doesn't happen every year. And in a weird way, people are underrating a jump he took by saying, oh, he was already good beforehand. He was good, but he was great last year. And I just don't think that's something we're going to see this year, for example, from any of the candidates.
Yeah, that's good. I tend to agree with that. We don't have time to go into Morant today, but man, he looks awesome.
He's so
What a
good.
he's so good, man. What a stud. Now we have Joe in Philadelphia. What's up, Kevin Joe? First time, long time. Just wanted to hear both of your greatest and in-person game experiences. Rumor has it that you both were in attendance for a Robert Covington buzzer beater in the process Sixers days, but wanted to hear what your greatest Wizards and Sixers moments you've ever been in attendance for. Keep up the good work, fellas. Thanks so much. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And that was a great
This
game.
is a good question.
The sad thing for me as a Wizards fan is there's a lot of great moments in Wizards losses. You know, there's a Bradley Beal. I saw Bradley Beal put up 55 against the Bucks. That was incredible. I saw John Wall put up 37 against the Celtics. That was incredible. Both were losses. But the best in-person moment of my entire Wizards fandom was watching Ish Smith lead the charge against the Boston Celtics during the 2019-2020 season before the pandemic hit. And he put up like 20 points. Jordan McRae came off the bench and had 20. And we ended up beating a healthy Celtics team with basically a bunch with this ragtag crew. And that is where my Ish Smith fandom truly began. And as you know, Joe, I couldn't be a bigger Ish Smith guy.
I do love that. Like any of those games where it's like just you're just some dudes who are just not supposed to win, just ball out. Those are great games to be in. I've been actually at a few of those in my Sixers years.
That
Joe mentioned the Cub buzzer beater we were in attendance for. That was awesome. But the Sixers have been a contender for so many years, and I've gone to a lot of playoff games, and it's sad to say that none of my most memorable games are playoff games. My most memorable game in person was the Embiid debut game. Man, what a game. It was just like it was coming off another like 12 win season, and Embiid's been in the freezer for 2 years. Like nobody had any idea, like, would this guy be good? Would this guy be a bust? And just the fascination with what this guy was going to be like. And then he comes out, and I know you guys watch Embiid now, and he's very cautious, and he doesn't have a lot of balance. But his first year, dude, he was just and he was flying over the floor, and you could tell he hadn't played in 2 years. Like he would he was airborne on every rebound, every dunk. I mean, he was awesome, and it was the Thunder still had Durant and Westbrook. I believe Durant was still there, but the Thunder were still a contender. It was Sixers Thunder, and just like the energy of seeing Embiid for the first time, and I don't know, it's just like how my Embiid lore and love kind of began. I was like, this dude is gonna be awesome, and we're very lucky to have him. Um, so I would say Embiid's debut was my most memorable game, and it was great to be there for that. Hopefully, it's not my best Embiid memory. Hopefully, my best Embiid memory is something in the postseason. So that's it. Good question,
that
Joe.
that is definitely a great memory because that has to be, you know, the turning point for the entire Sixers.
It was a turning point for the organization. I mean,
Yeah,
that's how they,
went from
because
a 12 win team to a perennial second round exiting team.
exactly, yeah, man. Them being successful, I mean, really depended on Embiid making the leap. And it was like, oh man, like it was in that moment where we were like, although it hasn't panned out yet, but in that moment we were like, we might have something here.
And thanks again to everyone that submitted a question to our mailbag. We always love hearing from you guys. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to shoot them our way and we'll talk about them on the show. Well, on that note, that closes out yet another episode of The Drive and Kick. Joe, do you have any closing thoughts?
If the Sixers lose the next two games, I quit the pod, so you have to find a new co-host. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We will be back next Monday with another episode of The Drive and Kick. Thank you so much.